Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, viewers. We just at about 7:38 a.m. and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. I'm Julien Skeete, and just before we head on in to this segment this morning, we want to give a quick shout out to our viewers on the live. We see Julia Brong with us this morning, Godfrey Moore, Shirley Cook, Melissa Moses, Zina Ramatali, Auntie Dora Lyons. Shout outs going out to you, Miss Carol Fraser Davidson. Good morning, good morning. Bukumatic Punchman in the mix with us. Pearl Murray Beard, one of our faithful viewers, AJ Allen. Good morning to each and every one of you. And we want to say thank you to all of you continuing to choose the Tobago Updates, a morning show, those of you connecting with us on social media, as well as those of you taking in us all the happenings here via Tobago Updates television. And this morning, we continue into our interview segment with Inspector Mahalia Bacchus of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We're speaking about the crime update that takes place here weekly on the Tobago Updates morning show. And this morning, we're also speaking T.T.P.S on investment fraud. Good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning, Julian, and good morning to your listening public. I'm happy to be here this morning.
All right. As we get the conversation started, you know the general cry coming from our population is, oh my God, what is happening in Trinidad and Tobago? And more so if you're from Tobago, what is happening in Tobago? Where are we seeing any potentials and leads in terms of into the challenges? I think my understanding is that we're just at about 5 now. In terms of murders and so on the island. Tell us a little bit about the progress and the efforts with the investigations on the part of the T.T.P.S.
Well, Julian, I must say that the officers of the Tobago Division are hardworking and they continue to do their best to make a dent in crime on this island. I'm pleased to say that this morning we have a man who would be appearing before the court, being charged for one of those murders that took place on New Year's Day that was in the Patience Hill area. So we are doing our best and we have made some inroads in some of the investigations. What we want to do is encourage the public to assist and to support us. Wherever they have information, come forward, because without their help, a lot of things are not possible in these times with these things that are happening. So we want to encourage them to support us.
So, you know, we oftentimes say Tobago is a very small place. Can you reassure the public that when you come forward and you call somebody you know in the T.T.P.S. that there should be no fear for your life as an individual sharing that information?
Yes, I can say that one of the things that we are focused on is to treat with confidentiality. And when persons bring information to us, we try our best to treat it with as much confidence as possible. Because at the end of the day, whatever we do, it will impact on that person as well as other persons in society and maybe my family as well. You know, so whatever we do, we treat all information in a confidential manner.
All right, and I know that there's also that working relation with Crime Stoppers, and so if people also want to call, can you give us the contact information, both to get to the stations and in the event that persons want to share information also via the Crime Stoppers?
Sure. You have 555. You also have 6 station districts throughout Tobago. You don't have to leave a name if you want to give information. You could just call and leave the information that you want to share with us as well. We also take information through 211 in Tobago, which is a more direct call. Right here on the island, there's 999. Even though it goes to Trinidad, they would redirect the call to us here in Tobago, and the officers will act on your information.
All right. Excellent indeed. So at this point, we want to dive on over as well to chat a little bit in relation to investment fraud. And I want to start by getting the perspective from you. Where does the T.T.P.S. fall into that equation? People hear investment and you think financial sector, you think I'm going to be doing well. Tell us particularly about the perspective when it seems not to be as legitimate as it should. And at which point do you ensure you get the intervention of the T.T.P.S. to assist?
Right. Well, the word you mentioned, investment, yes, it sounds like money, but at the end of it, there's the other word, which is fraud, right? So a lot of times people want to get money quick, and sometimes these things sound too good to be true. So we have to be wary. we have to be mindful. We have gone through a lot of different things in Trinidad and Tobago in terms of some of these Ponzi schemes. At one time, we had the blessing susu, which was very prevalent, and then persons recognized that my money went up, poof, after you made your investment. Recently, we had one, I could recall one of them, this Get FX or something like that. It left a lot of persons in financial turmoil and distress, right? Persons, they tend to come to you showing you how lucrative it is to make quick money by just putting in some quick investment. But when you look at it, everybody puts in, but you have no guarantee of you getting back. The person who receives all of it is the one who may benefit at the end, because at some point in time, when they have enough, they tend to cut you off, and that's where they disappear. Now, one of the questions I would have asked persons in the past, especially the Get FX, who is the person in charge of this? Who is the main person? Some persons can't answer you. All they know, they receive some communication. You could invest this amount of US and some money goes into into an account. And sometimes persons get carried away with this cryptocurrency. It looks like a lot, a quick money. You're seeing the money and you haven't been able to touch the physical money, and you believe that you could go cash out at some point in time. They lure you into getting the first part of it, and then after you're in trouble, because when they get enough, the persons remove all the money and they just disappear. You have nobody to reach out to. So in terms of the police, people come to the police after they would have lost the monies. And then now this takes an investigation where you have to go through getting information from the bank, where you would have placed the money. You have to try now to figure out who is the head of these companies, who are these persons. And by the time you do catch up on them, they are in another country or another jurisdiction doing the same thing all over again.
So you mentioned a really good point there. If it looks too good to be true, you kind of need to take a head start and do your related background. So what do you say to persons who probably might be in the process, you're being lured into this? Because you know how these things work. The average person, you don't say to them once, come and get involved in this. There's a level of persistence and follow-up on the part of those who are involved and they're a part. What is your guidance or direction to the average citizen that is in that situation right now of being encouraged to get involved with something of the sorts?
What I will say is that persons need to carry out their due diligence when it comes to some of these companies or persons who are coming to you to make these investments. Sometimes you work too hard for your money to just give it away so easily. You know, you have to look at where you're going to put the cash and what is the possibility of you really getting this large return in this very quick space of time. You understand? So you need to do some background checks on the individual, the company, to see how legitimate these persons are before you actually go ahead and place your monies into them. Also, we have persons really caught up with social media, and we have persons being lured into things like romance scams. People scour the internet and they look for persons who they believe are vulnerable, and when you look at it next, you know, they're asking you for money, and persons go and they deposit monies to people all over the world. I've seen one as far as Africa, in Asia, these countries, and you don't know who you're sending the monies to, right? There are persons who are being lured by goods online for sale, phones, jewelry, a lot of stuff, and they go ahead and deposit monies in the bank, and then it's a challenge because you don't receive the items and your money is lost. You know, so people have to now go make a report to the police. You ensure that you get your receipt. And then, as I said before, it takes some level of investigation to get to the bottom of who is behind all of this.
You know, and one of the more popular ones in recent times would have been this grand susu. And not in the sense of your traditional susu, but this one that was multiplying times over and so on. And it took Trinidad and Tobago by storm far and wide. Would the T.T.P.S have been able to make any significant leads in terms of holding individuals responsible? You know, we have the popular soca and calypso, everybody looking for the admin. You know, was there any real progress in that sense to be able to hold individuals directly accountable and to apply any charges also in the circumstances?
Thus far, I am not aware of anyone who would have been directly charged for any of the offenses. Only, the grand one where they went into the house in Trinidad and they they got the monies. But what I know is that because of it, there were laws and different things now being put into place to treat with some of these situations so that a person can't just sit in their home and just collect all these monies under that pretext that this is a susu or in that general sense, because you're not, the Securities Exchange Company, they have rules.
Yes.
So it's a bit more stringent now in terms of what people can or cannot do in circumstances like that.
All right. And in these circumstances, I know as well, just as you mentioned, the Securities Exchange, they now have an opportunity for you to check online to see whether or not these are legitimate and registered investment opportunities. So certainly you have that opportunity in doing your due diligence as part of the process. One of the areas we want to also touch on very quickly, again, for the benefit of our viewers and listeners, at which point should I get the police involved? Somebody's coming at me about this. Should I wait till I take my chance with my first investment and I have a receipt in hand? At which point is probably the best time if you believe it is an investment fraud?
I also believe that you could reach out to the fraud squad, because some persons are repeat offenders in terms of what they do and carry out some of these activities. So sometimes it might be someone known to the police who, before you actually place your money into their hands, you could find out if this person is anybody that has already engaged the police attention, that they are carrying out any active investigations pertaining to. Sometimes it helps us in terms of being proactive to stop this person before they get other persons involved. So you could actually reach out to find out if this is a person known to the police. And as I said, you also mentioned it, do your checks online, find out the legitimacy of some of these companies or the persons behind them to ensure that you are placing your monies into the hands of someone who is bona fide.
What is the ideal situation for the police if you really do end up in trouble? This time I'm already far gone. I in the thing already, I put in money, and I'm upset now that it is not transitioning in the way it should, and I'm coming to make a report. What kind of information would assist the police to be able to pursue an investigation of that nature, given, it falls within those kind of constraints regarding, as you mentioned, investment fraud? It's not exactly person A and you go to find person A in that village. What is critical information that the police will assist the police, rather, when I'm coming to make such a report?
All right. So what will be important to us is the means by which you made this investment, in terms of whether it's online, you were communicating on WhatsApp, did you make bank transactions, that kind of thing, because that paper trail is what will help us to understand or to lead to the person who might be involved in what is taking place. Now, some persons believe it's a poof and overnight you get the information. You have to do a lot of writing. You have to go through the financial institutions, because if you deposit money in the bank, you can't just go ahead and just try to find out information about that bank account number. You have to write. You have to do a lot of investigations in order to get to the bottom of it and to receive the information that you need to get in order to be able to bring the person before the court.
Certainly. So I want folks to understand you get the due process that has to be involved. So in the same way you expect and you're hoping that the T.T.P.S will do it for you in one shot, please pause and take that same kind of responsibility when you are investing your hard-earned dollars. Before we wrap this morning's interview, I want to get, what is your clear message going out there to persons who, and I like to say, persons who either at that point of, I saw the ads and I was thinking about it. I just make my first investment yesterday and I'm now seeing Inspector Mahalia Bacchus on screen. How do you respond to that person? I just make my investment yesterday. They're seeing you on screen now and they're now doubting themselves and wondering, is this thing really serious? Can I make a report? Should I call them now? Should I wait and see if it comes through? What's your advice to that person?
I would say to persons out there, you need to think before you act. As I said before, carry out your due diligence. It is not too late in terms of if you just put it there. You need to come and check the police to ensure that this person is not someone known to them in terms of those fraudulent activities, to see who this company is. As you mentioned before, do your checks online in terms of security exchange services there to ensure that these persons are registered and legitimate business persons.
All right, excellent indeed. And I see one of our viewers shouting out here, Good morning, Inspector Mahalia Bacchus, Carol Fraser Davidson. And, I just want to take the opportunity very quickly before we close to get a perspective from you. We just celebrated International Women's Day. We're diving off topic just a bit. What did that mean to you? Certainly as an upstanding young woman in the field, people look forward and look up to you and so on. The name is certainly known. Tell us a little bit, what did that mean for you in terms of the continued celebration of our women in society?
Well, I was deeply motivated by the past sessions that we had as in law enforcement. We had a symposium on Thursday. We had a lot of speakers. One of our ACPs came from Trinidad. She came to motivate. The theme this year was inspiring inclusion. So when we do these activities, we don't just have the women police only. We invite officers from the fire services. We have security agencies. Amalgamated was there. Dominion was there. We had persons from the Defense Force, the Coast Guard, the Army. A variety of different women made up this symposium. We also had a street parade, which was done on the Friday. We took it a little different this year. We went down to the west. So we marched to the Calvary Road Church. One of the things we love to do is to give God thanks for the opportunity to celebrate. And we plan not to just make it that one day only, but continuing throughout the year that we have these inclusive events with all the women and to bring in other stakeholders. We also had ladies from the assembly as well participating with us. So it was a great event. And on Saturday, we went to Barcode and had a little social where we had karaoke and so on. And it was fun. And we want to say to women, as I always say, we need to support. One of the things that was resonated from the church service is that they were saying, when you see another woman's crown, if it's leaning, don't talk about how it looks. Go ahead and fix it. So I want to echo that this morning to all the women out there. Let us be each other's keeper.
Excellent. She could not have said it any better indeed, viewers, and particularly to our ladies out there coming from certainly one phenomenal woman to each and every one of you on the outside there. I love that indeed. Remember, if you see that crown shifting a little bit, rather than take the time out and try to talk about how it looks, you go and assist your sister one time in terms of fixing it. And it ties very much into the point that I always make folks, no matter how much we try to out the candle of another, it will never make our candle burn any brighter in these circumstances. So therefore, we got to work together. We got to work with each other. And I want to thank you very much again, Inspector Mahalia Bacchus. And very quickly.
Yes, before we go quickly, there's a problem emerging in the Scarborough district. Well, throughout Tobago on a whole, where we have some vendors taking over our pavements and also on the highway. So I just wanted to use this opportunity to highlight to them that these are offenses. You can't vend on the highway and it's a risk, right? When you look at the vehicles that are pulling aside on the highway there to purchase, it could cause an accident. And we're using the shoulder, which is supposed to be used for emergency purposes, to do that. So the inspector at the Scarborough Police Station, which is Inspector Prince, and myself, we would like to have a conversation with some of these persons for them to understand that you can't vend on the pavement, you can't vend on the highway, because these things are posing a problem. And we see other persons just popping up all over, and we want to bring this to a stop.
Certainly important to note there, and that may be a very good opportunity. I'm suggesting here and said, as you mentioned, that we see them popping up all over. That may be a good opportunity to speak to and make that connection, even with the division for food production and the Shore Park Food Hub, to probably create that space so that all these persons in and around vending can now come to that central location where persons can visit. Thank you very much for that information, because I think sometimes we don't even recognize the risk. I have been guilty of it as well, and really it's a challenge sometimes to pull aside and then head back out and not recognizing. So certainly that's a conversation that will be helpful with the vendors seeking to come to some resolution so that they do not continue to be involved in illegal vending in any way, form or fashion. Viewers, we want to say thank you once again to Inspector Mahalia Bacchus of the T.T.P.S, certainly bringing us those updates here this morning. We want to thank you very much, viewers, for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. We're going to leave it here for this morning, and we're heading on over to our Tobago Notes Info Division segment, and this will be followed by GMT with Candice Jackson.